Welcome to College Football Time with Avery Miguel. Week 4 is in the books. We are here to give our recap and our reaction to weekend games. I am Miguel Medina, is my partner Avery. Avery, the first one we're gonna talk about is Arkansas versus Memphis. What did you think about this game? This game was amazing, and like I told you yesterday and Sunday when I
Yeah,
texted you, this was my favorite college football game of the weekend. Take it.
this was kind of like a wild game. Like you weren't sure what you were watching because, like we've kind of mentioned this before. When you have teams that have, kind of a more of an insight, because on paper these look like these are basketball schools. Like Arkansas and Memphis are like basketball schools. They are very in depth, especially when we talk about them come March. So to see this game and see both teams just give everything. It's kind of unfair that neither team was ranked because they played like ranked schools. They played like ranked schools and it was amazing to watch. And like I've said before, we've said it for years now. Any given Saturday, do not sleep on a school that you think, oh, it's just no big deal, they're on the schedule. But this was an amazing game to watch. I mean, already week 4, we've kind of said that there's already some games of the year. You need to add this one too. You need to add this one too. This was a very good game to watch.
Avery, I mean, just the way listen, when we look back at 2020 COVID and now, listen, yes, fans are going to be chaotic. There are some rowdy fans out there, but sports is just not the same without the crowd. And that crowd in Memphis was rocking, especially um when that fumble occurred with 1 minute and 22 seconds left in the game. Chris Bracing, he punched the ball out and he recovered it. And I don't know where his career will go after college, but this is one of those games, one of those moments that he will be forever remembered. No matter, I don't care how much this ends this year, I don't care what happens the rest of his career. This is a signature moment in his playing career. This is one of the biggest victories for the city of Memphis and for this program in general. People did not give them a chance against Arkansas, no chance whatsoever. And the way they fought in that game, especially in that fourth quarter, and for this young man to make the play that he did, and he said it himself, he didn't realize that he made the play or that it was a fumble until they did a review because they had to, well, the booth review check to check it. When they, when the referee came out and said that it's a fumble, that crowd went crazy, nuts. They knew that they had a game right there. So you went from being on the verge of losing that game on the 7 yard line for you to punch the ball out and recover, and to have the referee saying, you know, the runner did not touch the ground, the ball came out before, the knee touched the ground. That was, I never thought that Arkansas versus Memphis was gonna go down as my favorite game in college football this Saturday. And there's gonna be many games that we're gonna talk about, but I knew that I had to start with that one.
Yeah, and
And
just and kind of a side note too, we've kind of mentioned that punch out technique that a lot of linebackers use. We've been seeing it a lot in pro ball. We've been seeing it more in college, and now you're going to see it a lot more. Because if defenses know that in an opportune time they need the ball, running backs protect the ball. That's the first thing they teach you. But be aware, you're gonna have some defensive players gonna try that punch for that ball. And if you're not ready for it, if you're not anticipating it, that can turn the game right there. That can turn the game right there.
Yep, and we're definitely seeing them more often. I've been seeing them myself that they're punching out the ball more often. And it's a smart strategy because you got to find ways to win the game. So, um, but before we move on, gotta give a shout out to Sutton Smith. He rushed for a career high 147 yards, including a 60-yard touchdown, which gave Memphis the lead in the game. Brendan Lewis, he had a good game as well. He did it with his arms, but mostly with his legs. So, and Arkansas was held to only a field goal and 223 yards in the second half. So, kudos to the Tigers on that ball. Arkansas, they did drop the ball in this game as well. So, moving on, TCU versus SMU, another fantastic game. God, I'm glad that I'm not a Mustang fan because this one would have burned me deeply. This loss would have burned me deeply. The player of the game for this game, Avery, was Eric McAllister. He took over this game. He absolutely took over this game. He had 8 catches for 254 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he made 2 big plays. Without these 2 plays, we would have had a whole different discussion. A 70-yard catch and a 30-yard catch. So tough loss for SMU because they had the lead in the fourth quarter. They had it and they blew it. TCU, they finished this game with 14 unanswered points. 14. So, but another thing that I love about this game was the quarterback battle between Josh Hoover and Kevin Jennings. Take it from there.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I think the loss to Baylor kind of gave SMU, something to work for. But at the same time, TCU for the past few years has been another school that if you're not careful or if you think they've kind of fallen off, if you're not prepared, we've said this so much for, it's a broken record, but at the same time, you have to be prepared for every team that either you're going to visit or they're going to your house to visit you. And TCU just did not give up. They went into SMU, and you're absolutely correct. And one thing we've seen recently, and we've said it before, the game is 60 minutes. It's not 40 minutes. It's not 55 and a half minutes. It's 60 minutes. And SMU had the game in control, but at somewhere between the third quarter, they just decided not to continue playing football. And TCU took the opportunity and they ran with it and they got that win. It was it wasn't pretty. It was like the prettiest win, but TCU also kind of said, "Hey, if you don't take it seriously, we're not going to give up," which is what is the goal of any football team is like you play from whistle to whistle. So this is a heartbreaking loss for SMU, a great stepping stone for TCU because this game could probably crack TCU in the top 25, I think. So I now look for TCU to take this opportunity to see what more they are capable of.
Yes, it's going to be interesting to see what both teams are going to do going forward, TCU and SMU. But before we get into this other matchup, um, TCU will face off against a team that I could say myself that they're my second favorite team in college football. Nobody's gonna surpass Miami Hurricanes in that regard. But that second team I'm talking about is Arizona State. Arizona State, big win against Baylor, and you just recently mentioned Baylor. This was another fantastic game this weekend. Arizona State won 27-24. Kicker Jesus Gomez, he saved the day for the Sun Devils when he hit the 43-yard field goal as time expired. Kenny Dillingham, after the game, when he spoke with the media, with the press, he said that he wants to stay away from games like this in terms of the way it ended. Like He wants to stay away from that because he knew that the team could have won this game without relying on the game-winning field goal. They could have done so much better offensively. He said he's satisfied with the win, but and he believes in Jesus Gomez and he likes how calm and how confident he is as a kicker. And Jesus Gomez said it himself in the interview that for him it's not nerve-wracking because he's done this his whole entire life. So the kick is just like another kick for him. And I like that attitude from that young man. So, but I feel that Arizona State, they, aside from the kicker, their defense stepped up in this game, especially linebackers, Keyshawn Elliott and Jordan Cook. And you also had other guys like CJ Ellie and Adrian Boogie Wilson that also stepped up on defense for the Sun Devils. And Sam Levy, I can't even pronounce his last name. I'm having trouble this morning, but he showed fearlessness in this game. That man
Uh,
has ice on his veins. Ice
oh,
on his veins.
absolutely.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
absolutely. You know, and I know you're a fan of the Sun Devils. I'm like their game during the playoff has made me a fan of the Sun Devils too. So, them coming back to win this game, I'm always hesitant when it's the walk-off field goal, but like I said before, if you're giving your kickers the opportunity for showing your kickers the love when they need to, when their number's called and you need them to get that kick for you, it's going to be automatic. Um, I agree with Coach. I agree with Coach for the Sun Devils. I mean, you it's a win, but it's kind of an ugly win. You know, there are some games where you just want to play, you just want to give everything to your opponent, and if your opponent can't handle it, you just keep on going. It's almost we're not the biggest fans of blowouts, but sometimes when a team just continuously is on the ball, is showing what their offense can do, is showing what their defense can do, you're seeing a complete football team. And that's what I like to see because you have some teams that are just offense driven, you know, or you have teams that are defense driven, but they can't convert on offense. So, you know, I agree. It wasn't the prettiest win for Arizona State, but they now know what they need in order to keep on this role that they have. So I'm proud of them. You know, they know what now they need to look at, possibly fix, possibly fine tune. But like I said before, there we've said it. We've said it years now. Don't sleep on some of these teams. Don't sleep on some of these teams because if they hit your schedule and you don't take them seriously, mm, you're in trouble.
Yes, indeed. So Arizona State, they will face off TCU, which that will be a huge, huge matchup for both teams.
Mark
And
that on the calendar for sure.
yes, indeed, I'm looking forward to that. As of, oh yes, I can't forget SMU, they will face Syracuse on October 4th.
Mm.
Another fascinating matchup.
Oh, and Syracuse had a
I'm loving this.
really
I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
Syracuse had I I was confused, but at the same time I'm like, good on Syracuse. Syracuse possibly had the biggest win against Clemson this weekend, and this is the momentum that Syracuse needs, especially now going into a team with SMU, because now they're kind of on the downturn. So now SMU needs something to get them over the hump. And like you said, week four, now going into week five, now we're getting these intriguing matchups. Now we're getting these intriguing matchups. So, oh yeah, the Arizona State, SMU, who they face, oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good.
And I'm starting to become a fan of the coach, Fran Brown from Syracuse. I'm starting to become a fan of him. I like his attitude. I like his leadership. I'm starting to become a fan of him.
Oh, absolutely. And also, because we've said it before, just like we mentioned with the Memphis crowd, some things can be bigger than college football. And I like to give a shout out, and maybe you're aware, but we want to give a shout out to Rutgers. Iowa played Rutgers on Saturday. And the Iowa Hawkeyes, they have this tradition. There's a children's hospital near their stadium, and they do this wave to the children. I believe it's the beginning of the third quarter. So Rutgers, in their blackout game, did this wonderful drone show, and they simulated the Iowa wave all the way from New Jersey to Iowa. And it was a cool thing to see. It was a cool thing for Rutgers to do, but it also showed that even with what's going on, there are things bigger than college football. And even though the game didn't work out in Rutgers' favor, but if I had my hat, I tip my hat to Rutgers. I mean, that was a really stand up, awesome show of respect for not only Iowa but also for the Children's Hospital. Give it up for Rutgers. Give it up for Rutgers.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Rutgers and my oldest sister, she got her master's at Rutgers, so shout out to them. Great program there. Their football program, like, I remember the last few years, like they will get off to these nice starts, but they just can't seem to like close that out well. So, but they're one of those programs that I would like to see them succeed at some point, but they just got to stay consistent throughout the season. So, but yes, but moving on, Avery, big new kickoff, Texas Tech versus Utah. Both teams, okay, yeah, both teams, their defense they brought in the first three quarters, but Utah, their offense was horrendous. Utah's offense was horrendous. And my question to you, Avery, that fourth quarter, that anemic, abysmal fourth quarter by Utah, in your opinion, no right or wrong answer, in your opinion, do you think that Utah dropped the ball or they ran out of gas?
I think they ran out of gas. It's 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 weird because watching this game for a good solid three quarters, both teams were in it. You know, Texas Tech had an issue, and I kind of said this in our preview. Playing at Utah is a bit difficult when you have the crowd literally on top of you of how the stadium is built. It can be, advantageous for you as the home crowd, but a definite disadvantage if you're the visiting crowd. And the Red Raiders of Texas Tech for like 2.5 quarters had that issue. Defenses couldn't hear anything. Offense was jumping off sides. They couldn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, the Red Raiders clicked, and then next thing you know, they are off to the races. And once Texas Tech kind of got that first bit of momentum, I looked for Utah to kind of answer them, and it looks like they didn't. It looks like they ran out of gas. For everything they were trying to bring to Texas Tech, I think they just ran out of gas like like by late third quarter. And then by that time, Texas Tech was just like, okay, let's go. It's almost like they were hoping for Utah to kind of give an answer, but they didn't have it. And for a game that on paper looked very close, and then to kind of let the score be what it was, Utah has to go back to the drawing board. Utah has to go back to the drawing board because if this is how they think the rest of their season's going to be, they're going to be in trouble.
Utah is such a talented team, and their defense held up their own. They carried the load, but the Red Raiders credit to them 24 points in that fourth quarter. I can't recall. It's very rare that I see a game where the defense plays so great for the most part, and then they just turn into a massive blowout at the end of the last quarter. But clearly, this was not good offensively for Utah, and they really need a lot of work to get done because if I'm a Utah UT's fan, that offensive performance is totally unacceptable, and the fans have had it. And I feel like this game hit the breaking point. So, um, but credit to the Red Raiders, and they're now 4-0. And like I said in the preview, this is now their first 4-0 start since 2013. So it's been 12 years. So congrats to Texas Tech. Moving on, Avery, how about the Indiana Hoosiers? Ooh, that was an annihilation, dismantle, brutality, whatever term you could think of. I did not expect them to perform the way they did against Illinois. We expected so much both teams, to be like this, but this was like this. People,
Indiana
let's just say Indiana's really good.
in Indiana tapped into their basketball roots because I'm like, if you're going to drop 60 plus points on a team that is ranked in the top 10, you need to be taken seriously. That was insane. And I know I picked Indiana, but I didn't realize somewhere along the line, either their coach or the players just thought, you know what? Let's just throw everything at the Fighting Illini because I don't think Illinois knew what was happening. I think by after the third quarter, after the fourth, no, the route kind of started like right at the beginning of the second quarter. I don't think they knew what was happening. I think they were like, okay, let's just come out and do the best we can, and then there was nothing. But that if if you want to talk about like Arkansas and Memphis was like a great game, Indiana and Illinois was like this game like that shouldn't have happened. Like that should not have happened at all. But if you're Illinois, you need to retool whatever you thought was going to work because what Indiana brought was we've heard the term bring bring the smoke, man. Indiana brought the smoke, the charcoal, the briquettes, you know, like they ate Illinois. Like as a Southerner who loves but like they literally ate in Illinois. Like Illinois came to Indiana and said, "You know what? We're gonna eat you," and they did.
Oh, 63 to 10. 63 to 10. This is the seventh time in program history that the Hoosiers defeated a top 10 opponent. Listen, Avery, Curtis Rourke, very good quarterback. I remember we did for Indiana last year, but so far through first four games, I'm starting to believe that Fernando Mendoza is better than Curtis Rourke so far. From what I'm seeing, and I remember reading the news and the transfer report that he was coming to Indiana. I did research on him. Okay, good quarterback. Will he be better than Curtis Rourke? Will be an additional answer, not the answer, but an additional answer to take this Indiana program to another level? And so far, he's answering the bell. And I feel like with this game against Illinois, the answer even bigger bells because Illinois is not a scrub team. They're not a scrub team. And for them to basically pick them apart the way they did on Saturday, you got to put some respect on their name, as they say. So So
And
this,
we've said it. Yeah, the past couple of years, Indiana's kind of like the has been like a Syracuse or a Rutgers. They'll start off very strong, maybe a 4-0, 5-0 record, and then all of a sudden, they just can't finish the season strong. I think at this point now we have to take a look at Indiana. And like I said, Indiana is a basketball school, but their football program is starting to show some fight. They're starting to show some reverence. They're starting to show, yes, they are starting to show like if you're coming to Indiana, we're gonna give you everything. And I think Illinois realized that real quick. So I think we need to take and we've said it before, like for certain schools, now we need to take a look at like who else Indiana is playing because if you're playing Indiana, you need to not sleep. Anyone who's playing can be like, oh, they got lucky. No, they beat a top 10 school. They threw up 60 points on a top 10 school. You cannot sleep on the Hoosiers. You cannot. You're gonna get beat. You're gonna get beat. And off the top of my head, I think their next two games are like Iowa and Oregon. So if you're like either of those teams, oh boy. Oh boy. If you think in week 4 we're already excited about college football, in the next couple of weeks it's going to be real exciting now.
and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm loving this season schedule so far. Um, how about Arch Manning, Avery? I love the swag. I love the swag. And listen, this young man, 19 years old, I'm sure he's hearing all the noise. He's hearing all that, but he's just tuning it out. And that swag that he showed in this game against Sam
Sam
Houston
Houston, yeah.
Bearcats, the way how he stood, the way he stood over that defender when that defender tried to tackle him before getting to the end zone, which Arch Manning scored that 5 yard touchdown.
He was
When
giving
he
me
did
Allen
that,
Iverson vibes.
when he did that, I was like, Arch Manning, that's what I want to see from you. I want to see that more from
Ooh.
you. That goes to show that, oh, really, you guys wanna disrespect me that way just because I'm a Manning? You guys wanna disrespect me? You guys wanna write me off? You guys don't think I'm good enough? Okay, let me show you. Yes, it's against Sam Houston. Yes, we decimated them 55 to zip, but let me show you. And I don't know, I just love that attitude. I love
Yeah,
that attitude. And
I
people who are naturally, and listen, critics and naysayers of Arch Manning will use this to
of
even
course.
bash him even more. But I applaud him.
No, here's the thing. I like Archie Manning. I really do. I I see him growing into his role. And trust me, I got nothing wrong with the swag either. I have nothing wrong with the swag either because he was giving me Allen Iverson vibes. And I've grown to respect Allen Iverson over the years. So sometimes you kind of have to bring that attitude to your opposition to let them know you are not going to be intimidated. And there is a lot of noise because of Archie Manning and him playing at Texas. So he's probably heard it. He's probably drowning it out. He's probably not even listening to it. So yes, for how he played against Sam Houston, it was a great game. He put up some great numbers. Now, for anybody else that's watching, okay, we might need to be careful of this young man because when you have a pep to your step, when you have that confidence, they're gonna come in and they're just gonna run all over you. They're just gonna run all over you. And the Longhorns now have this they're on a roll now. They're on a roll now. And and just like Indiana, let's see, Texas has the Red River rivalry, I think, in a couple weeks. So I think that could be the truest test for Archie Manning when they play Oklahoma in a couple of weeks. But if you just want to hate on him because of who his family is, shame on you. But if you're a lover of college football, you want to see what he's capable of. You want to see what he's capable of. I work with a friend who is a Texas Longhorn fan. He's loving everything that is happening, but he also wants not just Archie Manning to succeed, he wants the whole team to succeed. And it is working. It is coming together. And again, as a college football fan, we have our favorites, but sometimes I'm kind of that person, even though I have my team, I just want to root for certain players too. Archie Manning's one of them. Archie Manning's one of them.
Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for him to succeed. I've seen his interviews and he's very well spoken for his age. He's very respectful. He strikes me as one of those players that he's just hard not to like. So, and I really want him to succeed, not because of his last name, but just because of his demeanor, you know. So I really hope that, he continues to succeed. He's in his third year, and I'm one of these old school people that I like seeing athletes that stay for the entire 4 years, because not only it teaches you what loyalty is, but it teaches you, how to be a team player, how to grow your leadership, learn from others. Not only you leave college as, what you did on the field, but also leave as better men, you know, out of the institution. So I'm that person that I admire players, whether it's in college basketball, or football, or even in baseball, that will stay for 4 years and then they go into the draft. If they do the one and done, fine, okay, because if they're the number one overall pick, it really depends on the situation, because there's some players that they want to help their family, so they enter the draft early. And it really depends on the circumstances because everybody's situation is different. But I love when an athlete stays for 4 years and then they go and into the pros. And there's been a lot of cases where a player that they stay for 4 years in college and they will have success in the pros because of so much experience that they've learned in college. So I feel like in Arch Manning's case, he's gonna stay, he's gonna come fulfill his 4 years because he's in his third year. I don't see him going to the draft after this season. I would like to see him to come back to Texas for next season and have a much more better season next year. But again, given how NIL and opportunities, it really depends on the situation. But at the end of the day, I want the kid to succeed. I want him to play at the pros like the way his uncles did. And, sky's the limit for him as long as he stays healthy, continues to be disciplined, continue to learn from his coaches, from his teammates, then everything will work out well.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you because I he's in his third year. I know there are a couple of quarterbacks who are in their fifth year. So it's possible we could even have Mr. Manning for another two. But one thing I've always stated, and I will say it again, these are student athletes. And if the dream for Archie Manning is to eventually play in the NFL, and I agree with you, by staying in school, he gets that leadership experience. He gets that playing experience. He gets the ups and downs of college football. Whether he's playing on a team where they're having ups and downs or he's witnessing it at other schools. So if that is his end game, I applaud it. But at the same time, you are a student athlete. What's your major? What's your minor? if this does not work out, what is your fallback plan? You know, have all these systems in place. God forbid, we want him to be as healthy as possible because as college football fans, we want no player to get hurt, injured, to never have to play again. So him staying for not just the 4 years, but possibly a fifth, especially working in the aspect of his education as well. And yes, NIL being what it is, but he's really in a prime position, especially at Texas, which is a great school, to not only have the best education, but be on a really great football team to learn and grow. And for, at least another couple of years, maybe even three, not only just us as content creators, but us as football fans, we get to see him grow as well.
Yes, yes. But moving on, Avery, to finish college football time. Oklahoma beat Auburn 24-17. Ole Miss beat Tulane 45-10. Miami Hurricanes beat Florida Gators 26-7. Another great defensive performance by them. Third consecutive season that they're with a 4-0 start. And the rivalry continues because although they have next week off, but October 4th, Florida State,
A
Miami versus Florida State in Tallahassee, which I wish I could be there for that game, but I
a
can't, but I can't. But I'm tuning in for that. Uh, USC, they beat Michigan State 45-31. And last but not least, oh my goodness. UNC, they got embarrassed again, this time by UCF, 27-9. And oh boy. And
Coach,
your
you have a
go
problem.
yep.
Coach, you
And
have
your
a problem. I'm not saying this to be mean, but Coach, you have a problem. You need to figure some stuff out. You're not in Billy Napier territory with the Florida Gators, but you need to sit your team down and find out what's up. Because I think a lot of us expected more from North Carolina and Bill Belichick because he has this tremendous work ethic that he wants out of his players. And th th this is confusing. This is absolutely confusing. And I'm not thinking that South Florida, as someone who I work with, South Florida is not a scrub. South Florida is a team you need to be prepared for. So I hope it's just North Carolina still trying to figure out things, or if they did not take South Florida seriously, shame on them. But the Tar Heels have a problem. They need to look and see what is not working.
Bill Belichick, listen, Ethan. In my mind, he is still one of the greatest coaches in football history. Still, listen, every coach, they're gonna need great players. That's how their status gets elevated. Coaching to a certain extent, and I admire coaches, but in my opinion, coaches to a certain extent, they're overrated. Bill Belichick, yes, his status as his great coach elevated because of Tom Brady. And it's easy to people say that, well, look his record without Brady. But people also need to remember is that aside from head coaching, he has success as a defensive coordinator. In the 80s with Bill Parcells and the Giants. He's not a dumb man. The man knows football. He can coach. Just because, you know, yes, without Brady's struggle, he can still coach his butt off. Should coaches get extreme amount of credit for a team success? I don't think so because at the end of the day, you need your players to thrive. So, and I feel that people, mostly media, they focus too much on coaching, 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 this, and that. And I can go into so many examples, even outside of football, but I'm gonna stick with Bill Belichick in this one. People got to remember there are 70 new players on this Tar Heels team. Number one. Number two, yes, the quarterback position is weak for the Tar Heels. I agree with that. But one person can only do so much. However, I will um, give Bill Belichick this criticism. I do think that to a certain extent he is childish. He is petty, especially the part that didn't sit well with me when he told the media basically that he's blocking the Patriot scouts to go visit UNC. I felt like that was very childish and petty. And if you're a high school prospect, you're looking at North Carolina, why would I go there? Because you being petty, you're blocking players' chances of getting drafted. And there could be some players that they're just looking for that one team to take a chance on them. So a player could look at Bill Belichick, okay, nobody wants me, but that Patriots could be that one team that will want him, and you're gonna block that opportunity because of whatever relationship you have with them. So I feel that he is petty. For his age, I feel like he is petty. He does give you that grumpy vibe. He comes across as childish in certain aspects. But I do feel that he is, trying with his team. But there's some pros and cons to Bill Belichick when it comes to the Tar Heels program. But I will stand that because he can coach. And again, coaching is not everything. You do need great players in order to succeed. Coaching, yeah, you need some coaching, but it's not like, oh my God, like it's everything.
Yeah.
Just like quarterback, it's not everything. It's
Yeah,
a team game, it's collective.
and it's not like the team's like failing. I mean, they're 2-2 right now, which isn't bad. But at the same time, and I agree with you on aspects of it. Bill Belichick is kind of giving a childish, petty vibe. Now, trust me, I have nothing wrong with being petty. Childish, do have a problem with. Um, Coming from the Bill Parcells coaching tree, you have this authenticity of how you want your players to play the game. Granted, the game has changed since he came into it, but at the same time, going from professional football back down to college, if he hasn't already figured it out, or he should figure it out, you need to tap into your players more. I've said this repeatedly. If you cannot find a way to tap into your players, you're going to fail. So, what worked for his 2 wins, he might need to look on back on how that worked. Because the future is, if you look at some of the future games, you're looking at, this could determine if this was a good idea or not. You know, they're going to play Clemson, they're going to play Virginia, they're going to play Syracuse. Um, they always finish the year with Duke and NC State, I believe. So Coach Belichick has to, if he wants to be petty about the Patriots not scouting, okay. but his focus needs to be on his team. It needs to be on his players. He needs to get with his coaching staff and say, okay, what is working, what's not working? And if some of his players aren't coming to him as well, saying, hey, coach, maybe you might want to try this or might want to try that, because there are also leaders on that team. You can have as many new players as you want to, but you can also have leaders on that team that are standing by their fellow football players and saying, hey, this is working, but coach, you might need to take this direction or you might need to take this direction. And if the players aren't saying it, his coaching staff needs to say it too. Because if not, granted, sitting at 2-2 in the ACC isn't bad, but if the expectation isn't a bowl game, if the expectation isn't winning, then why did you take the job in the first place? So those are aspects that, if not Coach Belichick, his coaching staff, that entire athletic department needs to take a look at. Because, even for us as fans, we want to see maybe a coach and a team succeed, but at the same time, we don't want it to look like a colossal failure because you didn't try.
Totally agree with everything you have said. Guys, that does it for this content of college football time with Avery Miguel. Um, another outstanding, successful weekend for college football. Avery, thank you once again for doing this with me. As for the rest of you, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned for Friday as we give our previews for week 5. And, we're just going to continue rolling, continue writing this. We love college football. We love talking about this and give you guys a lot of news and updates and information of what we think about the games coming up and also what we think about, you know, what happened during the games on Saturday. So stay tuned for Friday's previews. It should be fun. And happy Monday, everyone. Enjoy your week. Continue to do what you're doing. Just like me and Avery, we love doing this. And just stay tuned for Friday. So thank you guys for watching College Football Time with Avery and Miguel.
Have a great week.